behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Paul Mash TV. Paul Mash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a great interview coming up in just a moment. But as always, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and the bell below you there. You'll always be notified of any new episodes coming your way. And leave a comment on the comments section if you'd like. We'd love to hear from you there. And pay attention to the description part as well as the closing credits at the end of this episode, because we'll have contact info for you there. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. From Toronto, Ontario, Canada today, we have Mike Ferfolia. He's a Sting and Police tribute artist, and I think you're really going to love this guy. And we'll get to that in a second, but first, there's another quick word from the Caden Gordon Show, so don't go away. We'll be right back right after this.
It is Caden from the Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix. Check out my show at thecadengordonshow.com.
Okay, we're back, and with us from Toronto, Ontario, Canada today, we have Mike Ferfolia, and he's a tribute to Sting of the Police, and really great tribute too, I might add. But anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I guess you always looked up the Sting when you were growing up. Maybe this is why you wanted to do a tribute to Sting, or?
It was certainly some of the first music that influenced me. I mean, you know, as we're growing up and making memories as little kids, there's certain things you start to remember first. You know, when your brain kind of switches on, I suppose you could say. And the album "Dream of the Blue Turtles," which was Sting's first solo album, was very much when my brain turned on, and I started hearing things that made me that not only I liked the sound of, but also made me feel something for the first time too.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, as I just mentioned a minute ago, I mean, you do a really great job at that.
Thank you.
And what other bands influenced you as well growing up? I mean, did you have a few others that?
Wow, that's a very, very loaded question, and it really, honestly, it's changing from week to week because I'm always listening to different things and rediscovering things from my youth, actually, that I might have heard sort of in passing, or a song I might have heard on the radio when I was, 10, 11 years old. I'm like, oh, who did that? Okay, let me find the greatest hits album and see what's going on. Okay, let me find a specific album. Right now I'm looking at a lot of Paul Carrack records.
Mm-hmm.
So of course there's Mike and the Mechanics and Paul Carrack solo. But I mean, really, when everything started, I mentioned Sting's "Dream of the Blue Turtles" album. Around that time, a lot of like Phil Collins' Genesis was a big influence to me. These were tapes, like cassette tapes, of course, that I was listening to. As soon as I could figure out how to work the tape machine, I was listening to these records ad nauseum. Absolutely, like I would make other people sick of these songs, but I just couldn't get enough. So Sting and the Police, Phil Collins' Genesis. It wasn't too long after that when I was in grade school, starting to get into high school, that like a lot of hip hop and rap at the time started to creep its way in, and then into college, lots of Stevie Wonder, Tower Power, Earth, Wind and Fire. Brian McKnight was a huge influence. A lot of the pop R&B records that were on the radio at the time too, sort of in high school, whether it was like 112, Boys to Men, or Drew Hill, like a lot of those things influenced my singing greatly.
Okay, yeah, those are a lot of great bands there you mentioned. Even you mentioned Paul Carrack and and those, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder. Those were all great. And where can we find you online? I mean, I'm sure you're on all streaming platforms, but I know you probably wouldn't have anything on the streaming sites or official website, but also let us know where you're going to be headed, like in concerts and things. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, of course. Well, the easiest way to find me is if you just search my name, Mike Ferfolia, or if you remember, MikeFerfolia.com. It's a bit of a tongue twister, I get it. Even here just before we started the interview, having to sort of go over what the proper pronunciation was. I get it. But if my name is published on the title of the YouTube video, that's probably the easiest. It's MikeFerfolia.com. The Sting tribute is soundofsting.com, but all that stuff you can find from my website. But if you search Mike Ferfolia on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, all that stuff is there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go check them out on all those sites he just mentioned. I know he would love you for that.
For sure.
And we're getting ready to play this song. Obviously, it was a song by Sting many years ago. It's called So Lonely. Tell us a little story about why you picked that song. I mean, I guess it's one of your favorites, I guess.
Well, it's hard. Like being a tribute artist is a little strange, I suppose. And I noticed you the first question you asked your guests is, how long have you been an artist, or what started you on the path to being an artist? I don't know if I consider myself an artist so much as just a session musician, someone who just really enjoys recreating things and finding his own slant on recreating songs. And I'm ultimately not very picky about it either. So when you ask for a specific video or a specific link to something that I would like to share, I don't really have any specific things. I mean, there's lots of tunes that I really enjoy performing. Sting's catalog is right up there, like anything from his solo catalog. I really love playing live, and I do it a lot. But So Lonely came up, but it's just a really great tune. It's one of Sting's one of the Police's very first songs on their first record. I believe that it starts with Next to You. Of course, Outlandos D'Amour, the first Police record, starts with Next to You, and then So Lonely, I believe, is track 2. So it's really cool music. It was very much for them about the marriage of that ska, that punk rock thing that was happening in the UK at the time, with their own sort of modern musical sensibilities that were happening, because those guys were not punk rockers by any stretch. They were just musicians who were playing in big bands, playing jazz, playing a bunch of different things. And when it came time to put that group together, like, okay, well, let's try and follow in this punk rock vein and see what happens. And songs like Next to You or songs like So Lonely would come out, or Roxanne for that matter. Mm-hmm. And they were sort of like what I would interpret as punk rock tunes, or that defiant rock of the UK at that time, but with sort of a more musical slant to it. I'm certainly not trying to say that anything has more or less credence to it musically, but they brought a sort of different edge to that style of music. So So Lonely it's a really fun song to play. It was written by Sting before the Police. Actually, it used to be a song by his first band called Last Exit, and he just adapted it for the Police because they, playing with Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland, rather. Sting Copeland, listen to me. Stuart Copeland changed a lot of his sensibilities. So it's a very cool tune about, how tragic they find being in love to be, how terrible it is to be lonely, that angsty, unlucky in love generation, just trying to act out on whatever angry impulses that popped out. And, whoever gets angrier than breaking up with a girlfriend. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be playing that in just a second for you. But before we begin that song, I just want to thank you again, Mike, for being on the show. Come back anytime you want to have something new you want to perform for us or something, and maybe we'll have you back on again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, and here it is, So Lonely by Mark Ferfolia from the Sting Tribute, and it begins right now.
Thank you. Well, someone told me yesterday that when you show your love away, you act as if you just don't care. You look as if you're going somewhere, but I just just need to that to calm myself. I always play the smiling rock. So don't let, 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 so don't let. Thank you very much.